small intestine of the human. Just my dear student, you see this diagram, just I am making one diagram. So this is the, for example, you see this is the lumen of the intestine. So this is the lumen, you see this is the lumen. So and this is the transverse section of intestine. I shall show you the picture, first just you see. So this is the transverse section of the intestine. So this is the lumen, okay, and this is the mucosa layer. The innermost layer is mucosa and the outermost layer is the serosa. This is the serosa layer, you know, this is the serosa, and this layer is the mucosa. So what happens in case of intestine of human? So the entire small intestine, what I have told you in my last session, the entire small intestine has in it the permanent circular folds, that is called as plica circularis. Again, over the folds, that folds are finger like villi arising. So these are the villi, I shall show you, these are the villi. So they are produced from the finger like projection, they are produced from the mucous membrane of the intestine, and this villi helps in number one, absorption of the food material and provide the large surface area. So you just see the picture. So I am showing a part of this one. So you see, so this is the crypt. So this is the crypt and these are the villi. Okay, so these are the villi. So you see these are the finger like projection. So this is a part of the what? The TS of that is intestine. So you just from this picture you can imagine how much villi are there and what is the crypt. So between the villi again, so if you see this, these are the villi. So you see, for example, this is a villi and this is a villi, okay, so this is villi. So now this is the villi, this one is the villi, this is the villi or villus, the singular is villus. So now this is the crypt, so this is the crypt, so this is the crypt, so folding, so crypt. So now between the villi there are depression going into the submucosa. So this is the depression, this is the depression, and you see this is the villi. So for example, this is the villi and this is the depression. So what happens between the villi? So it is one villi and it is another. In between this is the villi and this is another villi. So for example, this is another villi. So in between these two villi there is a depression. So what happens between the villi one depression is present, and between the villi there are depression going into the submucosa, and that is known as intestinal gland, or that is known as crypt of Lieberkühn. So this is known as crypt. So this crypt is known as crypt of Lieberkühn. So this is the crypt of Lieberkühn, okay, that is present in between the villi. So now among these are some secretory cells called, that is known as argentaphin cells, argentaphin. So this is known as argentaphin. So among these present argentaphin cells, and also another cell that is known as Penith cell, that is Penith cell, this is Penith. So this is known as Penith cell. So among them present the argentaphin cell, argenta. So this is argentaphin cell and Penith cell, they are producing hormones, okay, deep into the submucosa. Again, deep into the submucosa, there are also present or found numerous branched tubular glands, and these glands are known as Brunner's gland. So they are known as Brunner's. So this is also known as Brunner's gland. So Brunner's glands. So deep into the mucosa of the duodenum are found numerous branched tubular Brunner's glands. So these are very typical character of mammal which secrete and pour, that glands secrete and pour mucus into the crypt of Lieberkühn, Numerous nodules of lymphoid tissue called Peyer's patch, they are known as Peyer's patch. So this is another structure that is known as Peyer's patch. So they are also present throughout the wall of the intestine. So that is known as Peyer's patch, are found on the surface of the intestine, and these Peyer patches are lymphoid tissue. They actually produce the what? that is immunological, or they are very important in view of or in aspect of immunology. So, they are the pair patches. Okay. So, they are defensive cells. Then crypts of liver cone produces crypt of liver cone, you have known that this is the crypt of liver cone. So, this crypt of liver cone produces one juice that is known as succus entericus. The juice is known as succus. So, this produces the juice that is known as succus entericus. This is also known as intestinal juice, that is succus entericus, that is produced from crypt of liver cone. So, this is also short question. Okay. So, at the posterior end, the ileum of rabbit, in case of mammal, for example, I am taking an example of rabbit. At the posterior end, the ileum of rabbit dilates into a small sac, that is known as succus rotundus. In case of what? Rabbit, the posterior end, the ileum, okay, the ileum of the rabbit dilates into a structure or a bag like structure, that is known as succus rotundus, that is succus. So, this is succus rotundus. So, rotundus. So, these are the words which can be the short question, okay, 1 mark question. So, at the posterior end of the ileum of the rabbit, which is dilated to form a sac like structure, that is known as succus rotundus. This is the place where ileum, cecum and the colon meets. Okay. The inner lining at the junction, the inner lining of ileum at the junction is thrown into longitudinal folds which converge to form one structure, that is the ileocecal valve, okay, or this is also known as ileocolic, or this is known as ileocecal valve, which actually regulate the passage of the food material from the ileum to the rectum or next part of the alimentary canal, which is the large intestine. So, what is the structure? This is known as ileocecal valve. So, now large intestine. So, this is all about the small intestine of the mammal. So, specially I am telling about detail of the large intestine and small intestine separately for mammal. Okay. So, now come to the large intestine. So, large intestine has a larger diameter than the small intestine. It is generally short in fishes, amphibia, reptile and birds, but in mammal it is long. Okay. So, in comparison to the other tetrapod, in lower forms the large intestine forms rectum, but in tetrapod it has colon and terminal rectum. In most of the fishes and amphibians, the terminal part of the rectum leads to the cloaca formed by the proctodium, and the cloaca is a common aperture for elimination of the excretory materials, the genital materials and also the fecal materials. So, this is found in case of the lower or inferior tetrapods, but the rectum, excretory duct and genital ducts open into the cloaca and it opens to the exterior by the cloacal aperture. This is a common feature of lower tetrapod, but in many bony fishes and other mammals, except the monotremes, monotremes is also a mammal, what happens? The rectum and urinogenital ducts have separate opening. The rectum opens to outside by anus and the genital opening is completely separate from the anus. So, this is all about the detailed structure of the large intestine in case of the what mammal. So, now specially in case of mammal, this is the large intestine of the vertebrates. So, specially I shall focus on the large intestine of mammal. So, in case of mammal, the large intestine is divisible into cecum, colon and rectum. In case of mammal, this is divisible into cecum, that is cecum, then colon, then rectum. So, this is I am now specially discussing about the large intestine of the mammal. Okay. So, in case of mammal, the large intestine is again divisible into 3 parts, that is the first part is the cecum, this is cecum, and second part is the colon and third part is the rectum. This is also found in case of the other tetrapods, but I am now giving some tips regarding the large intestine of the mammal. So, the length of the cecum varies. In case of mammal, the length of the cecum varies, that is as short in carnivores, The cecum is short in carnivores and long in herbivores. For example, in case of rabbit, it is thin wall of 50 centimeter long and it is sacculated structure. The cecum is 50 centimeter. Its internal lining is thrown into folds forming a spiral valve, and cecum ends into a thick walled blind tube that is called as vermiform appendix. You see, for example, this is the small intestine or this is the last part ileum, and this is the, for example, the starting point of the large intestine. So now you see this is the what? This is the cecum. So now you see this part is known as, this is the small intestine or this is the ileum. You see this is the ileum, and now this is the cecum, and now colon starts from this point. So this is the colon. So now in case of mammal, this cecum also contain one structure that is known as vermiform appendix, one additional structure. So this is known as vermiform appendix. So this is vermiform. So this is vermiform appendix. So this is attached to the cecum of mammal. So cecum ends into a thick walled blind tube that is called as vermiform appendix. This measures about 18 centimeter in case of men. The vermiform appendix has lymphoid tissue serving to neutralize bacterial toxin. Okay, so this is the most important point. So I just want to say something. Generally, in case of, again in case of mammal, if we consider the case of mammal, this cecum and vermiform appendix is very much functional in the herbivore, but in carnivore, for example in case of human, so this is not functional. So in case of human, this actually possesses the lymphoid tissue serving to neutralize the bacterial toxin. It is separated from the cecum by a strong sphincter. It is separated from the cecum by a strong sphincter. A sphincter is there, regulator is there. No food can enter into the appendix. Okay, no food can enter into the appendix. But if any circumstance the food material enters into the appendix due to any reason, at that time this becomes inflamed. So if it inflamed, then this is known as appendicitis. So this is the this is one type of disease in case of the human, if this appendix is inflamed. So then colon, the next part is the colon. So in case of mammal, the colon and rectum are main part of the large intestine. For example, in case of men, the colon is about 1.5 meter and the rectum is 22 centimeter long, and colon is constricted at interval by internal transverse fold that is known as plica semilunaris. I shall show you the picture. So in case of mammal or in case of human, the colon is constricted. So if this is the colon is constricted. For example, you see, so this is the constriction, so this is the constriction, so this is the colon and this is the constriction. You see, this is the constriction, this is the constriction, this is the constriction, so this is the colon. So colon is constricted intervally, and this is known as this is known as plica semilunaris. The bulge between the constriction are known as hostra. So this is the constriction, plica semilunaris, and this is the hostra. So this is hostra and this is the plica semilunaris. So this is the colon. Okay. So this is the structure of the colon of mammal. So now come to the muscle. So if I discuss about the muscles of this colon and what are they? So muscles in the wall of the colon are concentrated one side in the form of a long ribbon like structure that is known as tenia libera. What is that? That is known as tenia libera, and tenia libera produces waves of contraction and pushing the contents of the colon forward. Villi are absent in case of the large intestine, or in the large intestine there is no villi, but large number of crypt of Lieberkühn mucus secreting goblet cells are present, and it is observed that a number of bacterial flora are also present in that part or in the part of the rectum, and especially they are E. coli, Escherichia coli bacteria are present. Rectum communicates to the outside by one structure that is known as anus, and this anus is guarded by some internal and external voluntary sphincter, that is voluntary. Large intestine is concerned with the absorption of water and formation of fecal material, just like the other. This also what? This also stores the fecal material, and whenever this is storing the fecal material, at that time this is absorbing the water from the fecal material. Okay. So now I want to show you the picture or diagram of this one. So you see, this is the, so this is actually, this is the colon you see. So you here you see this is the structure, and this is the rectum opening to the outside, and this is the structure. So this is the left colonic part, this is the transverse colon, this is the right colic fixture, this is the ascending colon, you see this is the ascending colon, and here this is the what? Cecum is there, you see cecum, and this is cecum, and this is cecum, and this is the vermiform appendix. Okay. This is the ileum. So ileum is opening to the cecum, and this opening, this ileum is opening to this part of the large intestine, and this is the cecum part opening to the cecum. Cecum has one appendix, that is known as vermiform appendix. Then this is the ascending colon, this is the transverse colon, this is the descending colon, and now this descending colon opens to the rectum, and finally anus is there, and you see these are known as hostra, and these are known as tenia coli. Okay. So this is the structure of the what? Large intestine. Specially I showed you the cecum, then the colon, then the rectum, and finally this opens to the what? Outside, that is the anus. So this is all about the structure of the alimentary canal. So during my discussion, my dear student, I have told you that the digestive system of human is concerned with two components. The first one is the alimentary canal, that is the field where the food material will be digested, because we know we need constant supply of energy, and this energy comes from the food material, so that we are taking food material. So the food material generally enters into the structure that is known as alimentary canal, that is the field where the digestion occurs. So inside the alimentary canal a number of glands are there. They are involved in digestion process, that is the physiology, that is the physiological activity of this alimentary canal, and this digestion is also helped by or regulated by other two important glands. They are the associated digestive glands. Let us switch over to that part, that is the digestive glands. So let us start this one. So besides the mucus secreting goblet cells in the whole alimentary canal, there are gastric glands in the stomach, and distinct liver and pancreas are connected to the alimentary canal. So a number of glands are there in the alimentary canal. They are the mucus gland, the goblet cells, the gastric glands, they are secreting the juice. Beside that, the external two important glands are there, they are the liver and the pancreas. The liver actually secrete one juice that actually help in what? Digestion process. Similarly, pancreas also secretes some enzymes which actually digest the food material. So let us start with the structure of liver. So this is the liver. So most important endocrine, that is not endocrine, this is the most important gland of the body. So the liver arises as a single or double outgrowth from the ventral wall of the embryonic archenteron. So if I say about the development of the liver, how the liver develop? So the liver actually develop or arise from that is the archenteron. Okay. So the outgrowth forms a hollow hepatic diverticulum, which soon differentiated into anterior part, which proliferate to become the liver and its bile duct, and the posterior part which give rise to gallbladder and the cystic duct. So what I want to say, the liver is, for example, this is the liver you see. So for example, this is the one structure, this is the liver, and this liver possesses the cells which are known as hepatic cells, and these hepatic cells actually secrete one juice that is known as bile. Okay. So this bile may be stored in one bag that is known as gallbladder. So what I want to say, generally during development of the liver, what happens? In one part the liver is developed along with its ducts. Similarly, the gallbladder is also developed with its duct, because if the liver produces the bile, then this bile will be stored in the gallbladder, and this gallbladder will communicate the bile into the duodenum, what we have studied. So how it is formed? So if I analyze the development of this liver, then it is seen that the outgrowth or this outgrowth, that means during development, this outgrowth forms a hollow single or double outgrowth from the ventral wall of the embryonic archenteron, and this outgrowth forms a hollow hepatic diverticulum which soon differentiates into an anterior part which proliferates to become the liver and its bile duct, and the posterior part which gives rise to gallbladder and its duct, that is the cystic duct. Okay, bile actually passes through bile duct and the gallbladder communicates to the intestine through one duct, that is known as cystic duct. So now the bile ducts join to form, all the bile ducts join to form a single hepatic duct which unites with the cystic duct to form a common bile duct, or that is known as ductus choledochus. Okay, so this is all about the bile duct. The region of the archenteron from which the liver arises become the duodenum. The liver is the largest lobed gland in the body, suspended by the double layer of peritoneum from the transverse septum or the representative muscles. A gallbladder, usually a gallbladder is there in the liver for the storage of bile secreted by the hepatic cells present in the liver. Generally, it lies, that means the gallbladder lies in the liver and drains into the duodenum through a common bile duct formed by the union of cystic duct and the hepatic duct. So this is just about the what, the form, that is the structure of the what, the bile duct and the gallbladder. That is the gallbladder, a single gallbladder is not present, or a gallbladder is not present in case of bird and mammal. A gallbladder is lacking in many birds and mammals. Okay, it is not a rule that the gallbladder should be present in all vertebrates. So in some cases this is present, in some cases this is absent. A liver is present, but in contrast to that, a liver is present in all the vertebrates. For example, if I say about the cyclostome, in cyclostome it is small, single, and in lamprey it is two-lobed. It is bilobed in elasmobranch. The two lobes are united below in the esophagus, and a V-shaped gallbladder storing bile lies in the right side of the liver. This is all about the what, elasmobranch. So in case of bony fishes, liver is a solid mass of brown color. The two lobes extend on the sides of the intestinal bulb. The right and left lobes are joined at three places by transverse connections in case of what, that is bony fishes. Each lobe has several irregular divisions, one of which is known as prominent appendicular process of the left lobe on the ventral side of the intestinal bulb. I can show you, this is in picture, you see this is the picture. So this is the gallbladder in fishes. So this is the intestinal lobe. So this is the left liver lobe and this is the right liver lobe. So you see this is the liver of the what, fishes. So this is the hepatic duct which is coming from the liver. Okay. So this is the what, this is the esophagus and this is the common bile duct and this is the pancreatic duct. So this is all about the structure of the liver in case of fish. So now come to the that is the structure of the what, gallbladder. In case of fish, an elongated gallbladder lies between the intestinal bulb and the right lobe, what I shown in the picture. Cystic duct arises from the anterior end of the gallbladder. After a short distance becomes bile duct and open to the intestinal bulb. In case of amphibia, the liver is reddish brown and present on the anterior side of the body cavity. Especially in frog, the liver consists of two lobes, the right lobe and the left lobe, and the left lobe is smaller than the right lobe. Then come to the lizard. In case of lizard, the liver in lizard is a large dark brown structure. Okay. So composed of right and left lobe. The gallbladder is located on the visceral surface of the right lobe. The lobules are polyhedral inside the liver, the lobules are there. So these lobules are polyhedral in shape and separated by a thin layer of interlobular connective tissue forming trabeculae. The liver of pigeon or bird is large, compact, dark red, bilobed, containing a large right lobe and a small left lobe. So in case of bird, the left lobe is small. From each lobe of the liver arises bile duct. Okay, so left bile duct, right bile duct. The left bile duct opens to the proximal limb of the pylorus, or that is the pylorus part, and the right duct open into the distal limb of the duodenum. So now come to the next. In case of mammal, the liver of mammal that is rabbit, I am taking example of rabbit, is divided into left and right, okay, and by a deep cleft which actually dividing the liver into right and left. So, in addition to that, the right and left further divide into anterior and posterior lobules, that means liver is divided into different lobules. So, there is a quadrate lobe in case of the rabbit which is behind the gallbladder, and lastly there is a small circular lobe that is called as caudate, that is the lobe which is present behind the it is posterior one and next nearer to the kidney. So, this is known as caudate. The gallbladder is deep within the abdominal cavity of the liver. Okay. There are separate openings for the bile duct and the pancreatic duct into the duodenum, which is the first part of the intestinal tract of the stomach. Interestingly, unlike the most of the mammalian species, in case of rabbit, it secretes mainly biliverdin, okay, biliverdin in their bile, a chemical, as opposed to bilirubin in other. Rabbit, for example, I am giving an example. In case of rabbit, or rabbit produces a large amount of bile, approximately 250 ml in a day, which is 7 times as much as dog on weight basis. A gallbladder is absent again. So, I have told you that gallbladder is not a provision for all the mammal. In case of what? In case of horse, in case of some rodents, even in case of whale, the gallbladder is not present. So, this is the structure of the liver in case of the rabbit. You see, this is the left one, this is the right one, again this is divided into some structure. You see, this is the quadrate lobe, this is right one, this is the caudate lobe, this is the caudate process of the caudate lobe, and this is the left lobe, and this is the left median lobe. So, by this way the liver has been divisible into some parts. So, this is all about the liver of the mammal. Let us discuss about the pancreas. Similarly, the pancreas is also one important gland. So, pancreas is again formed from the endoderm of the embryonic archenteron, a single dorsal diverticulum from embryonic duodenum, and one of the two ventral outgrowth forms the liver from pancreatic diverticula. The proximal part of the diverticula form the pancreatic duct, but these ducts undergo fusion or reduction, so that only one or two pancreatic ducts remain in the adult. Okay. So, they open into the duodenum either separately or after uniting with a common bile duct. So, this distal part of the diverticula undergo budding to form the main mass of the pancreatic cell. So, thus a single gland is present, and the most interesting thing is that this pancreas is a gland which is compound in nature. Some part of this pancreas secretes the what? Enzyme, and some parts secrete the what? The hormone. So, pancreas is both exocrine and endocrine in nature, and the exocrine part secretes digestive enzyme and endocrine part secretes the hormone, that is the insulin and glucagon. Okay. So, this is all about the pancreas. So, my dear students, now I have concluded all about, or I have completed all about the structural aspect of the alimentary canal, and to some extent the glands associated with this alimentary canal. So, by this way we are now completing detailed anatomical aspect of the digestive system. Okay. Let us break this session now, and we are waiting for the next session. Okay.